Right, I'm just about ready to get started now. You've got to get everything ready, get your moulds ready, because like I said, you only have 10 minutes before the stuff starts to set, so you haven't got to hang about, so get everything ready. The moulds are already lined up. Probably fill 3, but I always have a spare one in case there's any left over, rather than waste the compound. You'll notice the moulds are slightly wet. It's always a good idea to immerse them in some cold water with a little bit of fairy liquid or washing up liquid of any sort. Doesn't have to be fairy, obviously it can be Sainsbury's or Tesco or whoever. Mix a little bit of washing up liquid with the water and soak them in. I leave them soaking in and take it out because it helps to get the compound into the little corners and things if you've got a bit of liquid in it and if they're a bit damp rather than if they're dry. So having done that, I'm planning to do I'm going to do one like this colour scheme, which is a light grey and dark grey. So I'm going to need 2 mixing bowls. And I'm going to use black. I've got some water already here which has got some poster colour already in it, and I'm going to use the large mixing thing for that. I'm going to fill 1 measure of that with the black and pour that in, and I'm going to do the same with the small. This is for the added colour, the darker colour. I'm using, you'll notice, exactly the same liquid, water, coloured water, with a smaller thing because I don't want as much of that as I do of that, because I'm going to mix them up in the mould. So I've only put a smaller bit, but because those are the same colour and I want that to be a bit darker, I'm going to add a bit of black poster paint in there to make it darker than the other one. As you'll see, there you go. I don't want too much because it will weaken the mixture. I'll just mix that in. As I say, you could be using red and brown or red and black or whatever. I'm just doing this for the purposes of demonstration. You have to experiment with the colours. I've done all sorts of different colours for different effects. So now we've got two containers, both with black water in. One should be a bit darker than the other, because obviously when you put the powder in, it's going to get lighter, and that one's going to be a lot greyer. This one's hopefully will be a darker grey, which is what we want. So I've done that. So the next stage is to put powder in. And now this is the critical point, because once you start doing this, you can't hang about. So you put 1 in there, get your mixing thing, give it a little mix up, make sure it's well mixed. You can usually tell whether the mix is stiff enough or not. Be careful at first because it can dry very quickly, set very quickly. It's chemical action. Right, I'll leave that for a minute. Now I'll concentrate on the next one. I need 2 in that one, but I'll put 1 in initially and give that a stir. I can use the same piece of stick, it won't matter because they're basically the same colour. So now you can see it's going more of a grey. It's not as dark as the other one, and it will get even lighter as we go on. Right, so I need a bit more in that one. I'll put at least another spoonful. And a spoonful in there. Keep that away from the water. Give it a good mix. As I say, you can't hang about. It's going to be difficult for me doing this, trying to tell you how to do it. Operate the camera, make sure it's in focus, which it probably isn't, but I can't do anything about that now. You can hear what I'm saying anyway. Now that's getting into a nice mix now. You don't want it too thin, you don't want it too thick. If it's too thick, it dries so quickly, before you even get it in those moulds, it's starting to set. So I'll leave it that for a second. I'll go back to the other one. I'll use a different stick now, because that's a bit thin, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Get the dry one. Not too much. There we go. Lovely. Look at that. It's a nice black mix. I just hope it's going to be strong enough. I might put a bit more in that one. Now you don't have to do it this way. There's umpteen ways you can do it. If you want just one colour, obviously you don't need the 2 pots. You can just have all grey or all black or whatever you want. But I find it's nice having a mixture. You can get a kind of a mild effect. I think that one's sort of just right now. I think that one wants a bit more in. I'll put a bit more in there. I'm sorry if I go on a bit about this, because you probably know how to do this anyway if you've done Linka or you know about it. But it's just I've got to do it anyway, so I might as well film myself. Well, I reckon that'll do. I can't put any more in there, so it'll start to set. Let's get that out of the way. Right, now we've got to put it in the moulds. So what I'm going to do, you don't have to do it exactly like this. I'm just going to dabble a bit in the moulds at random like that, because you don't want it all the same. Just plonk a bit here and a bit there, basically. There you go. Those little chimney pieces. They never come out properly. They always break when you get them out. The chimney pots. About half of them break, I think. As I say, if you want to be more meticulous, you can put them over the top of a tunnel or something, the black, the darker, where the smoke would affect it if it's a model railway you're after. These can be used for anything, war games or models or whatever. I'll put some in this one in case I get enough. As I say, I'm just plonking in at random. It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll see when it's finished what it comes up like. Looks a bit black, this one, but right, that's about it. Now don't worry that you've got some left over, because what you can do, I'm going to put the grey in next, and that's already starting to set. And I can put some of this black on top if it's left over, because that'll be on the inside and it won't show. So I'm now going to put this in, and I've got to be quick, because I tell you, it's setting already. Hopeless. Must have made it a bit thick, this one. Just plonk it in at random like that. Doesn't matter. So this works. It's so embarrassing when you're trying to show people. It always goes wrong. You've got to poke it into the corners. A good way I do it is to pick it up and just drop it like that onto the thing, and the shock sends it in the corners. Don't worry too much at this stage, you know, whether it's all gone in or whether it's level or not. You can do that later. You can just tap it on the sides like that to get it to go in the corners, or pinch it up or whatever. Doesn't matter if there's too much. There you go. That's that one. I've got to get on this. I can't stop. I'll have to keep the camera going because the stuff will set and I don't want to waste it. I hate wasting things. I'm just plonking it on. It doesn't matter if you don't have to be fussy. Mainly I want this grey as the main colour, so I'm just going to put that in like that. I can use some of that black to top up if I haven't got enough, because it won't show, because it'll be on the inside of the brick rather than the outside. I don't think I'm going to have enough to do these two actually. I'll plonk a bit in there, look. I hope you can see this after all this effort, because I tell you what, when you're doing it to show somebody, it's awful. I'm rushing and it's all going wrong. It probably won't work. You have to, it's nerve-wracking because the stuff starts to set very quickly. I know this looks a mess, but don't worry, it'll turn out alright in the end, I hope. Famous last words. Plonk that in there. It looks a terrible mess, I agree, and you'll think, what the hell is this bloke on about? He ain't got a clue. Never mind, I think I'll have room for that one. No, there isn't much left in there, so I'm going to get the black one now and finish off with that. What I'm going to do is pour that on top, because it won't show, and it doesn't matter anyway. People at home are saying, what is this bloke on about? What a mess. Does he know what he's doing? Well, actually, no, not really. See, that lighter colour is already getting rubbery. I'm going to have to get this tool on top. I'm sorry to rush and spoil the video, but I don't want to waste my stuff, do I? Just so you can see how they're made. Look at that, lovely. What a mess. Give it a shake, like that. And my hair will start falling out if I keep doing much of this. You don't have to use one of these filler knives if you don't want to. You can use anything, a bit of wood or anything. It's what you're doing is just making sure that it gets in all of the mould. Give it a shake, and you're trying to get the air bubbles out, because air bubbles are your enemy. So where you get an air bubble, then it doesn't set. Now that one's starting to set. When it starts to set, that's the time you've got to go over it. Don't worry about that black showing, because that won't show, because I say it's on the inside, so it doesn't matter. You can see that one's actually getting to the setting stage. Now this is a stage where you use your, either use your Linka tool if you've got one, which is like this, over it, but I find it's easier to use one of these. I'll do this one first, and all you're doing is just going over the mould like that. You see? Keep that little bit you can fill in if you've got any gaps. Just make it nice and flat. It doesn't have to be exact. Make sure you're nice and close enough to do another one on there. Look. Sometimes I dip it in the water. That one's done. That'll be okay. We can leave that one. I'll do this one. If you put more of the darker, which was a bit weaker mix, it won't set as quick. If you notice some gaps appearing, just plonk a bit more on top like that and just keep going till it's difficult to know really. I'll put that in there. There's a spare mould there, and just might be able to get a few castings out of that. There's a bit on that one, look. See, that's already setting, look. So I can get one out of that. Why waste it? I'm a scrimper. You don't waste things if you're a scrimper, no matter what. There we go. Might have a bit in there, but we'll come to that in a minute. I've still got this one to do. That one on the end is setting quite well. This one's going, but not quite as quick because there's probably a bit more than loose. Look at that stuff on there. That can go in that end one. I'll do the same with this one. Probably best not to keep fiddling. I tend to keep going over it and trying to get it perfect. I end up spoiling it usually. Just make sure that that one's a bit slower drying. Those two are okay. They're done. Don't try moving them once that, because they're setting now, and I shall get cracks in it. I'm not too happy with that one. It's a bit looser in there. It will set, but it will take longer. See, I'm fiddling with it now. I'm spoiling it. I should leave it alone really, but I can't help it. Never mind. There we go. Let's go in now. That's not too bad. It could be worse, couldn't it? At the end of the day, who's going to care? Make sure your moulds before. I should have said, I didn't say it. It's remiss of me really, but I've got so much to think about. Make sure your moulds are scrupulously clean when you start, because any little tiny bits of previous moulding material will muck the mould up completely. Well, it won't muck the mould up, it will muck your castings up, so always wash them afterwards, and I leave mine soaking in water prior to use. So, and it's not perfect, but I've probably got a few extra castings. There's one there, I'm just filling it up. You can see this, I'm doing this open because I can't see the blooming camera, because I got it back to front as well, so everything probably upside down for you. See, that one's wasted. I'm going to scrape a bit other. I don't like wasting. There's one. I can use that one. Don't worry, it will soon be over. I've nearly finished because I'm going to turn the camera off in a minute and let it set. There we go. I'll blow it, that'll do. It's almost time for tea anyway, isn't it? Right, there you are, that's it. Now we've got to leave them to set and be a bit patient. And that one on the end is practically ready to take out now, but you know, don't be tempted because it's going to be soft. I tend to leave them for 20 minutes, half an hour. I've even left them overnight, you know, just to be on the safe side, but as I say, it's not the end of the world anyway, is it? There we go. So there are the molds. Next stages, I'll show you some ready done, and I'll show you how to take them out. Okay, I'll go and have my cup of tea now.